Welcome once again to another installment of Driving Impressions. This vehicle today is my 1966 Imperial Crown Sedan. A large vehicle, very rare from back in the day when Imperial was a subsidiary of Chrysler Corporation and its own technical brand. Now today's driving impression is going to be a little different because due to a slight mishap this morning where I accidentally locked myself out of my house, I kind of didn't have the keys to my car and couldn't go back in. By now the house should be unlocked, so that won't be an issue, but I'm going to have to start the car the old-fashioned way. And interesting feature of note, in 1966, Chrysler had an in-car hood release. Cadillac would not adopt that feature until 1971. Putting them slightly ahead of Cadillac in terms of luxury vehicles. Now this car is equipped with the standard 440 motor, first year of it in 66, and only engine available. Now, I've had to run a hot lead off of the coil, which is this wire here that runs over the top, which I will connect to the battery. There you can see it slightly spark. Now I have to actually jam the wire in here. There we go. And make sure it's sturdy enough because I'm going to have to run it. Then we go down about here to the starter solenoid. And voila! That's hot wiring the old-fashioned way with the universal key. The downside to this approach is that as if I need to restart the car, I have to go under the hood, and regrettably none of the instrumentation works. I also don't have directional signals. Slight downside to such mishaps. Now this vehicle with 96,000 miles is in largely unrestored all original condition. Headliner's missing, that fell down years ago, but power vent windows and power windows still work. I will be using the power vent windows just to keep it a little more comfortable. And car runs, drives well, responds well. Interesting thing of note, 1966, this vehicle is not equipped with hazard lights. So, just a little point of interest that was not required and therefore is not present. Now, my example's been around the block a little bit. It's got the old worn Mexican blanket interior. The gear shift doesn't quite perfectly line up, but this thing runs like a champion. I mean, listen to that motor purr, and she goes smooth. Right, another downside to having to hotwire the car to start is the fact that I do not have directional signals. So I will be relying predominantly on stoplights to actually make that work. But that said, it's not bad. And this vehicle, when offered in 1966, was very heavily equipped. You'll see it's a factory air-conditioned car, optional autopilot cruise control, only one mirror, regrettably they didn't get the passenger side option, and single zone AC. But the car has an AM only radio. That blasted other vehicles. I didn't have a stop sign. They did, and they almost ran it. That's most unfortunate, but the brakes actually work remarkably well considering they're four-wheel drum on a single booster. It stops smooth, and there you can hear it'll tires. Now this thing's got a bizarre torsion bar suspension setup, which actually rides incredibly nice. It's one of the smoothest riding vehicles, with the exception of my Rolls Royce, that I've owned and ever had the pleasure of driving. This car is an absolute delight to operate. Let's see, other remarkable features. Oh yeah. It's constantly being mistaken for a 60s Lincoln because Elwood Angle, the individual who designed the suicide door Lincoln Continental, also designed this. So these things look remarkably similar. Most people have no idea what this car is. Just see it as a big old boat. Honestly, if you were going to rob a bank, this would probably be like the perfect vehicle to do so in. Because not only is Imperial a long-defunct brand, but nobody has any idea what it is. Otherwise, she goes well. She's got a nice-sounding 440. The exhaust on it, true dual, is a little bit louder than I'd care for, but she runs well, and if you open her up, shifts smooth, pulls strong, and acceleration is pretty neat. The ribbon speedometer is also one of my favorite features, just such a nice period touch. Just like the Autotronic Eye headlight dimmer, which Chrysler got on license from Cadillac. Well, General Motors. Cadillac and Buick featured it predominantly. Otherwise, that's the impression today for today's vehicle. And I thank you for bearing with me. I'm just trying these voiceover videos, and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Thank you for your time. Farewell.